Hello and welcome to a special interview for the Wire supported by Glenlivet Books. Should the army apologize for killing 13 innocent fellow citizens in Nagaland? That's the simple but blunt question that I shall put today. My first guest is the former Deputy Chief of the Army and a former member of the Army's Appellate Tribunal, General Zameer Uddin Shah. General Shah, you've served a lot of your career in Nagaland. You know the area, you know the people, you have personal contacts there. So let me put that simple, blunt question to you. Should the army apologize for killing 13 innocent fellow citizens in Nagaland?
Karan, I always feel that the word apology is a very strong word because apology is regret for an offense. However, if it does placate, if it does lessen the tensions, if it does satisfy the anger of the Naga people, I think there's no harm in army tendering an apology for this mistake. Now, mind you, an apology is for an offense. According to my view, it was a blunder, a mistake, but certainly not an offense. I repeat again, if we can reduce the tensions, reduce the anger in Nagaland, an apology from the army would do a lot of good.
So you're saying that if an apology from the army would lessen the tensions, would placate the hurt feelings of the Naga people, then an apology from the army, and your words were, would do a lot of good.
I totally agree with you. I stand by what I said.
Let me ask you this. So far, both the army and the government have expressed regret, but not an apology. Now, I've consulted several dictionaries. A regret indicates sorrow for something that happened. An apology is an acceptance of a mistake. And as you said, this was a blunder, this was a mistake. That's why you believe an apology would be helpful.
Well, if you take it that way, I have also gone through the dictionary. If I repeat again, if it settles matters, we have been through a torturous procedure of negotiating with the Nagas. There are 20 tribes, 22 sub-tribes. It's very, very difficult to carry out negotiations with people who are so divided in language, in customs, in culture. The tribes, one side of the river doesn't know the other side. It's been a very, very patient and torturous process. If it can, and I feel this incident has derailed the efforts we have made. If an apology does settle matters and get back the negotiations on track, I think it would be well worth it.
Thank you, sir. That is very clear. As you said earlier, an apology would do a lot of good. Now, as you said, it would be well worth it. Let me ask you this. From whom should the apology come? From the major who was commanding the troops who did the firing? From the corps commander? From the army commander? Or since it is the army, the institution, should it be from the army chief?
Well, that is for the army chief to decide. But I think anything at the highest level would be in order.
At the highest level?
Yes.
That is very clear. Let me put to you two responses I've got from other people who do not wish to appear on the program, and I won't name them, but their responses are reasons why they think the army should not apologize. The first is that an apology would be taken as an act of weakness and it would embolden the insurgents. How do you respond to that sort of attitude?
No. Then this gentleman has misunderstood what an apology is. It requires guts to apologize. A weak-willed person will never apologize. He'll stand by his position. So I think that's incorrect. If a mistake has been made, there's no harm in an apology.
What a second explanation given to me why the army should not apologize is that in 2014, when General Huda, who was then Northern Army commander, apologized for the Budgam killings, Several retired veteran officers sharply criticized him on social media. And secondly, they claimed that by apologizing, he had damaged the army's morale. How do you respond to that?
No, I would say that an apology for wanton killings is very much in order, or for an offense is very much in order. I would say that we have to view things sensibly. We have got to make sure that the insurgency in Nagaland, the negotiations are put back on track. Anything said and done towards that is very much in order, very much justified.
Now, one last issue. Serious doubts have been raised in the media by, in fact, one of the survivors of that killing concerning the claim made by the Home Minister in Parliament that the army only fired because the car failed to stop. As you know from the Indian Express, the survivor has said there's no question of the car being asked to stop. We were fired at first of all. So there's clearly a confusion about what the Home Minister said and what the truth was. Secondly, as again you know from the media, questions have been raised about how the army is alleged, I use the word alleged, to have tried to cover and hide the bodies under tarpaulin. Should the army expeditiously clear these issues so the people of India know the truth and are not left confused or with multiple versions?
Of course, the army is investigating, and I'm sure the truth will be revealed. But Karan, let me tell you that whenever there's an incident of this nature, there are exaggerated versions from the survivors. They always try and press home the wrong buttons. They are exaggerated. Look, I've operated with the 21 SF, the unit involved. They are highly trained, highly motivated, and do not bluff. They go on factual and correct information. This time, somehow, they've either been misled, and their statements, I go strictly by what the statements made by them, is that these people tried to break through the dragnet. And mind you, this is not the first time this has happened.
Absolutely.
During my service.
But your position is that because there are disputed accounts which are questioning what the Home Minister said in Parliament, which are questioning what the army is alleged to have done with the dead bodies, i.e. try and hide them under tarpaulin, you're saying it's in the army's interest to clarify this and to clarify it expeditiously.
Yes, absolutely. They must. The truth must be revealed, and that will come out in the court of inquiry.
My last question, and it's a simple question. Has this whole episode, which has lasted for 10 days, damaged the standing and image of an army that both you and I love? Both you and I have army connections which are very close. Has this damaged the standing and image of the army?
I would hope not. The standard and image of the army is, well, in everybody's minds and hearts, is well above board. But this is certainly a setback, and people, especially the people in Nagaland, their hurt feeling must be assuaged. You know, we must do everything which will assuage the hurt feelings of the Naga people.
And it's in that context, you said, General Shah, that the army should apologize. I thank you for speaking out clearly and boldly. You know, sir, that you will probably face some flack, but I think you're brave enough because you do believe that it's in the better interest of the army you love that a mistake be accepted and apologized for. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you for your courage, General Shah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back. I'm now joined by former Deputy Chief of the Army Staff and someone who has served several tenures in Nagaland, General Raj Kadyan. General Kadyan, let me start with a simple, blunt question. Should the army apologize for killing 13 innocent fellow citizens in Nagaland?
Karan, it is not possible to answer that question in a simple yes and no. The killing took place in two different places, two incidents. One, when they opened fire on the SUV that refused to stop when checked by an ambush party who were there on specific intelligence of the militants traveling. That killing can be ascribed to an operational hazard. I mean, it's a split-second decision that the commander would have taken. Obviously, if the vehicle does not stop when challenged, your perception that they will be traveling gets reinforced. The second is a crowd gathered and they were aggressive. They did attack the party because one soldier died, 2 vehicles were burnt, and some were injured also. That if the party opened fire in self-defense, or as the Home Minister says, to disperse the crowd, prima facie, the use of force seems excessive. I mean, there are basic norms in operating in insurgency areas. One is use of minimum force. Second is you don't shoot to kill. You shoot to injure somebody. So the firing is normally aimed below the waist. So many 7 people dying is perhaps indicative of use of excessive force, for which, if I were the Corps commander, I would have apologized.
I'm just repeating this because it's very important. You're saying the killings happened in 2 different places and times. The first was as a result of an allegation. I'm insisting it's an allegation that the car didn't stop and the army was therefore forced to fire. For that set of first killings when 7 people died, you don't think there's any need for an apology. You said it's an operational hazard. However, the second set of killings happened when a crowd gathered. The firing, as the Home Minister said, was done to disperse the crowd. At that point, you're saying you don't shoot to kill. And you added that if you had been Corps commander, you would have apologized.
Yes, Karan, that's right. I would apologize. An apology raises one's greatness. It is in no way diminishes one's standard. And I think army standing with the locals, which has always been good, would have gone up. I mean, compare it to the next day when they attacked a post in Mon, as per the Home Minister's statement, about 200, 250 people. They also opened fire, but only 1 person died and there was 1 injured. Now, that is the kind of use of minimum force that could have been done even on the first day.
So just talking specifically about the second killing when the army fired to dispense and something like 6 more people or 7 more got killed, for that specific second incident, you believe a regret is not enough, an apology should have been given?
In my view, yes, apology would have been in order, and I said if I was the man Corps commander there, I would have apologized.
Now, that's the second thing I want to ask you. At what level should the apology be forthcoming? You're saying that if you were Corps commander, as Corps commander, you would have apologized. But do you think, since this is the army as an institution apologizing, it should come either from the army commander or perhaps from the army chief?
Karan, not necessary. Even if a commanding officer apologizes, he speaks on behalf of the organization. He would not do it at his own level. So that level is not material in this case. An apology from a uniformed person who belongs to the army is an apology by the army.
Okay, let me put to you 2 concerns that have been expressed to me by other people. I won't name them because they don't wish to appear on the program, but I'll put their concerns to you. It was first said to me that one reason why the army shouldn't apologize is because an apology will be taken as an act of weakness. It will embolden the insurgents. How do you respond to that viewpoint?
No, I've said that the apology or saying sorry to somebody does not diminish your, in fact, it enhances one's greatness and magnanimity and your dignity. So, saying sorry, people have died. Obviously, they've died because of the troops who fired. My view is that firing could have been minimized. It is against the basic norms of operations in these areas, which I explained.
A second concern put to me was that the army shouldn't apologize because when in 2014, General Huda, who was at that time Army Commander, Northern Command, apologized for the Budgam killings, veteran retired officers were very critical of him on social media. They accused him of undermining the morale of the armed forces. How do you respond to that sort of concern?
Karan, that J&K incident is akin to the first shooting of 6 people, for which I am saying no apology is required. It is an operational hazard. From my understanding, in that Kashmir incident, there was a check post of the army. The People were traveling, they were required to halt and identify themselves. This car broke through, and as I understand, broke through even the second barrier. The sentries are placed there with arms and weapons only for that purpose. That if somebody doesn't listen, obviously there is something fishy about their going past. So they fired. I think that was right. I don't know why General Huda, in my view, should not have apologized.
And you're also saying not only that General Huda should not have apologized, but the Budgam incident is akin to the first killings in Nagaland, not to the second lot of killings when the army fired to disperse and ended up shooting to kill. It's for the second killings that you believe an apology is warranted. We're coming to the end of this interview. Let me ask you this. There have also been serious doubts cast on the version given by the Home Minister in Parliament that the army only fired because the car failed to stop. The Indian Express has said that the survivor in Dibrugarh has clearly told them that they were not asked to stop. No attempt was made to ascertain who they were. The army simply fired. Also, separately, doubts have been created about how the army handled the first killings, i.e., it's been alleged that the bodies were hidden under tarpaulin. Now, we don't know the truth, but there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of concern. Do you think the army needs to expeditiously find out the truth and make it public?
Current the inquiry has been ordered. These allegations, we are a liberal democracy. Anybody can make an allegation. So the truth will come out. After all, of the 8 people in the vehicle, 2 are still surviving. They were taken by the army to the hospital. They will give their version. Truth will come out, and I think army will take corrective action.
Okay, and my last question then. This episode has been at the top of public concern for almost 10 days. Do you believe it has damaged the standing and the image of the army, an institution both you and I love? I have army connections like you. Has this damaged the standing of an institution that we love?
Karan, the impressions that spread are out of misunderstanding and lack of facts. When the crowd attacked the party immediately after they shot the 6 people, they obviously thought, they had no idea that it's intelligence failure. So their action was not wrong. If their colleagues have been killed wantonly, they attacked the army post or whatever the party was. So all these allegations are allegations, nothing more than that. Let the truth come out. The truth will come out.
But has the standing of the army, its image, been damaged?
Based on rumors, if one forms an impression, perhaps yes.
All right, General Kadyan, I want to thank you for this interview, and in particular, I want to thank you for speaking out and explaining that in terms of the second killing, not the first, the army should apologize, and apologizing, as you said, would not diminish the army's stature. It would enhance its dignity and its magnanimity. You know, you will probably be criticized for this by many people. I take it you're prepared for that.
Yes, I would be criticized. I am ready for it. I am speaking out of my conviction based on my experience of having long operated in those areas.
Thank you very much indeed, General Kadyan. I congratulate you and applaud you for the courage you've shown. It cannot be easy as a former army general to be critical of the army itself and to say it needs to apologize, but you've said it. Take care, stay safe.
Thank you, Karan.